All righty. Yes. Yes, y'all. It's time for the Daily Bread Project. I'm getting the Facebook Live set up. If you are listening to this on the podcast feed, want you to know that doing this live right now every day over at my Facebook profile, Jonathan, or excuse me, facebook.com/JR Rivera. That's where you can catch these live. But obviously, we got the iTunes feed going. We're in Stitcher, we're in Google Play, we're everywhere. And grateful for you guys listening. And I'm stoked that you're here today. And I'm going to get my live set up. I'm waiting for a very special guest to join me today. Mr. Bob Gardner. He is a friend of the Podcast Factory. He is an awesome guy, and he is here. All right. You are on mute. There you go.
All right.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you feeling?
Awesome. Awesome. Is that the new house?
That's the new house. It's the new digs. Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's about time, right?
About time? I don't know. I mean, the
15
time
years
is
in the
now.
making. Yeah, right.
Amazing, man. So I'm going to get this thing going live to Facebook. And if you do have Facebook on your device, I'll ask you to share it once I get it up there. And we'll get ready to rock and roll in just a second as soon as I make all the connections. Zoom is now the most popular app in the world, I'm reading.
Real? I bet. I'm not surprised.
So here we go.
All right. I don't know how to share.
Yeah, you can share it later. No worries.
Well, I'd like to do it now.
I know you would, man, but I don't know how to explain it to you. Like, I don't know, hit the share button.
On the Zoom app?
No, and if you got Facebook on there, I just went live, so it's playing on my profile. And if you want to share it to yours, that's cool too. We're gonna jump into this thing.
Okay, well, I'll do it later.
There you go. There you go. That beard is looking burly, homeboy.
I gotta keep warm.
This. Yeah. Let's do this, man. So, welcome one, welcome all to the Daily Bread Project. This is your light in all the darkness that's going on out there. I am bringing you the very best of the Podcast Factory family to lead with light. I keep saying light, because there's so much darkness. And really, I am stoked today to have a guy that I consider a friend, a mentor. And even though we don't get to hang out with each other enough, every time I'm around this guy, I feel uplifted. Mr. Bob Gardner, what is up, homeboy?
Oh, just snowing outside and more light in the air because of it.
Oh man, my biggest regret with this coronavirus thing is that my trip got canceled and I didn't get to go hit the mountain with you. That's my biggest regret.
I know. Oh well, we'll have to do it another time.
No, now I'm gonna buy a house and be up there. I'm like, oh, opportunities here. I'm gonna buy a house when everybody bails.
Oh yeah, that's true. You could do that.
Could, would, should. Yeah, I could. Right. I will do that. Forget about it. I'm going to do that. It's on the list.
Okay.
Bob, I'm happy you're here, man. And the thing that I have in my mind, and I don't know when you said this to me, and I want to start off today's Daily Bread with this idea of ending suffering. Like, when did you say that to me? Is that just your motto, or where did I get that? I know I didn't make it up.
No, I think it was when we first talked, we were sitting there in that cafe and just chatting all over the place. I mean, that's been something that I've been, I think the way I say it is graduate from suffering. Suffering is one way to live life, but you can graduate and leave the school of suffering and then go do something else, right?
Yeah. I like that. Graduate from suffering. And you've been on this quest. Let's give a little background. I mean, how long have you been on, you call it a quest for truth. And I've always loved that. How long have you been on this quest?
I think it's been there in the background most of my life, but it sort of began in earnest when I got to the point where I was so low, I was depressed, I was anxious, I was suicidal at a certain point. I was stuck inside of addiction, and there had to be a better solution, and I didn't want to die. I just didn't want the life that I had. And so I had to start questioning everything. Okay, like what's real, what's true, what works, what actually produces happiness. And that's where it really began in earnest. So that was probably maybe 12 years ago that it like really started in earnest, even though I'd been like really looking at things my whole life.
Wow. So much has changed even since we've met. Like you're at a whole other level right now. And so how have you managed all this growth in this little bit of time? It's been a year maybe.
I mean, I think one part of it was getting mentors that allowed me to give myself permission. A lot of people think, oh no, you need a mentor, or you need a coach, or you need someone to guide you through it so they can teach you the ropes. And what I'm finding is, yeah, that's helpful, but most of the time the mentor is just there to give you permission to do the thing you could do without them anyway. But you can't give yourself permission, and so the mentor is there to be like, yeah, do this, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, and then you go do it. Sometimes there's skills needed, but that is definitely one part of it, is that I did, for at least a brief period of time, really get a few mentors that helped me out. But then the next piece, like I've just been doubling down on paying attention to what's real in my life. And one thing that has helped a ton was just like what's actually happening, getting very, very clear on the facts, getting very, very clear on what's actually going on, whether it was, okay, business, we need to do some things, or whether it's in my family, somebody's having some struggles, or whether it's there's a pandemic on the planet. And being really, really clear about what is actually happening. And so it was just fascinating, because as this whole thing started to go down, news stories started showing up. News stories show up everywhere. And I start watching this panic start to ripple across, just, it's a low level, anxious kind of panic. It wasn't like mass mayhem, although the toilet paper did run out pretty quick and all this stuff. And like, it was crazy. But anyway, like this sort of low level anxiety. And I look at it and I go, nothing materially changed. If you look at like, okay, cool, somebody sneezed in a market in Wuhan, China. We do want to be intelligent. We do want to be wise with how we're operating, but nothing materially changed in people's lives. But the bit of news that showed up, a couple thought waves running through the head, and suddenly their lives are in a panic. There's a big mess going on. And that's that one instance. This has been such a beautiful opportunity, because like nowhere else in my history, in my life, have I seen the entire globe have to take a step back and take a breath and reassess, are we okay with how we're living our life? It's not like the world's going to end, but this has like been such an amazing opportunity for people to look and go, okay, how I've lived my life up until now has been one way. Is this really the way that I want to continue living it? Do I really want to tolerate this? Right? But it all started because somebody sneezed, and then news spread across the planet. And so nothing had materially changed, and yet people were starting to board up in their homes, and like they were starting to like freak out a little bit. And I see all these Facebook messages of people like, oh my gosh, I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory or anything else. And none of these things are things you can materially affect. Conspiracy's been around since the dawn of man. Of course there's a conspiracy somewhere. So why are we hanging up about this one? And do what you can, be aware with it. So all I was doing was, let me look at what's real. And so I'm like having a good time, meeting with clients, playing in the snow, doing what I can, walking around, and like I'm fine, and just being intelligent with how things are going. But the suffering wasn't there. The internal suffering wasn't there. It was only, well, what's the raw material that life has given me to work with? And I think that one incessant, and to my wife, exceptionally annoying trait has helped me a ton, because I go, okay, is this actually real? Like, is this actually a real thing? someone's freaking out about something that's happening, and most of what they're freaking out about is not real. Most of what they're freaking out is their own creation. So there's the creator's creation, which is what I'm calling reality. And then there's your psychological creation, which is an add-on to reality. And the more, and it's not like it's bad to create fantasy and imagination and whatnot, but when you mistake it for the creator's creation, you start behaving in weird ways because you believe it's real when it's just stuff up in your head, and it blinds you to all kinds of stuff.
I'm wondering, and I don't know that it's possible, but how can you separate those two creations, your creation versus the creator's creation? What would be a step or a trigger or something to get somebody to realize that they're living in a made up reality, like they're in the matrix?
Yeah. So the best step that I started with was the five senses, right? I'm not saying the stuff that you can't see, taste, touch, and stuff are not, like the wind is happening. Okay, cool. That, right? That's, you're not seeing it, but you are feeling it. So the best way to start is like, what is actually happening? Fact. If I can't see, taste, touch, smell, or anything else of it, then I am experiencing it. But maybe, just maybe, the source of it isn't reality. Maybe, just maybe, the source of it is something else. And that gives me a place of question. And it's, I don't have to let go of it. Like, emotions are an experience. They are chemistry, they're electricity to the body. Like, there's definitely stuff going on. But where do emotions come from? They come from within us. And they're made because of our reaction to what's real, not because they're just naturally happy. You're not born angry. You know, you're not born like having this depressed or anything else. You're born and stuff's going on inside of you and you're reacting to it. And that's where the emotional response is coming from. So start with the five senses. Look at it and say, let's give an example. Like, what's a common thing that you're hearing these days that people are struggling with?
They are getting cabin fever.
True dat. Okay, we got
I'm feeling that.
At home learning with 6 kids is
Yikes.
Woo. Okay, so they got cabin fever. The thoughts in the head are going to run? Oh, I'm never going to get out of here. These kids that don't pay attention. Like, I'm not set up to be a teacher. I don't want to be a teacher. It's hard to train kids. Kids never listen to me. There's a mess everywhere if you have kids.
Yeah.
If not, it's like, I'm never going to get out. Like, everything's changed. The world, like, your brain is just going to start spinning stories. What's actually happening? I woke up in the morning, light came in the window. I'm on my bed, breathing, my heart's beating, and I have food in the fridge. Which reality do you want to live in? Right? Cabin fever is a mental construct based on you're like weaving memories together, a thread, and then you're weaving that thread into the future saying, I'm never going to get out of here. If you wake up in the morning, like you wake up in the morning every morning, and one morning you have cabin fever and another you don't, and the only difference between those 2 days waking up, assuming the weather's the same, is your thought process about what this means. So cabin fever is just a creation that you made on top of, oh, I'm waking up in the morning and my body's okay and we're good, you know, or I have the same chronic pain or whatever else your situation is. But the cabin fever is an add-on to what's actually happening and what's actually going on.
Yeah. I want to just point out, and people may have overlooked this in what you were just saying, but almost sounds like throwing a little gratitude in there, being grateful for what you do have, what you can see, feel, touch, all that stuff might be a little trigger to help you get out of that as well.
Yeah, like the thing, it's true. Like, gratitude accesses the subconscious mind in ways that other kind of emotional states don't, and so it allows you to reprogram things and let go of things that you wouldn't normally be able to let go of. But on top of just the gratitude piece, like there's a lie that we all picked up when we were first born, right? When we were growing up, and that is that this moment can somehow magically be different if we just will it that much. You know, if I don't like it enough, somehow something's going to change. But the reality is that whatever just showed up, it's already here. There's nothing you can do to change what's already here. You can influence what comes next, But what's already here, you can't change. And so if you embrace that 100%, totally embrace it, there's a natural gratitude and a natural surrender that happens. There's like, and it's counterintuitive because you're like, what? This moment sucks. Why would embrace it?
I'm out of
And you go,
toilet paper. What do you mean embrace it?
embrace it. The shower is nearby. Just go jump in the shower. But like, if you can really just embrace what's there and recognize that this moment is inevitable, it's already here. If there's nothing you can do about it. It sounds counterintuitive to be like, well, then I just feel like I'm a prisoner in my life. But the reality is, when you get these moments of clarity where you recognize, oh, there's nothing I can do about this. The dog jumped into the bathroom.
Yeah, buddy.
When you realize there's nothing I can do about this, like we can't do anything about the fact that the dog went in the bathroom.
We embraced it though, didn't we?
Yeah, like, and there's a moment of like total, it's like when your kids do something bizarre. My son's yelling. When I open my eyes and I look at it, my little 4-year-old, and he's just sitting there complaining about something. But when I open my eyes and look at it, what's actually happening? There's just sound vibrations coming from his throat. None of it means anything materially about reality. He's just making a bunch of noise, and then he's creating an emotional spot inside of him. And I get to see this beautiful life unfold by the way that it wants to in front of me. And I don't have to change any of that. And there's so much like joy that shows up at my kids screaming. And I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. Because somebody took his stuffed animal or something. Now, note, this does not happen 100% of the time with me.
With 6 kids? Come on.
I'm working on that one. I'm not levitating and enlightened and glowing and all that other stuff, yet. We're working on it. But the embrace of what's here, that you'll naturally have joy. You'll naturally have gratitude. You don't have to work at it. It doesn't have to be a practice of, oh, I must do gratitude. It's just like forgiveness. All of them are natural byproducts of seeing things the way they really are. And then you find yourself being loving, forgiving, grateful.
I like that. Being in the present moment, accepting what's going on. And the underlying thing, and I don't know how you view this, but it's almost, yeah, this showed up, this happened, the dog jumped in, we ran out of toilet paper, whatever, the kids screaming. You said you can't change that. It's here already. But the thing that I keep thinking is you can change how you take it, because that's kind of what I'm hearing you say.
Right. So it's like, imagine somebody comes in with a bucket of Legos, right? And they're like, here, have some Legos, go make something, right? It's just raw material of life. If you sit there screaming about the Legos and you're like, no, I wanted different Legos, then you're still not building anything. And most people are focused, most of the personal development world is focused on trying to fix the raw material that life gave you instead of taking it and making something out of it. And it's crazy because we're like, oh no, I got to heal from this, or I need to fix that, or I need to, mend this thing. And we take all this raw material and we judge it, even though Jesus said, judge not and you won't be judged. We still step into the place of judge and we go, that is wrong. Somehow God let it happen, but we know better. And so we judge it and we go, that's bad. And then we sit there trying to fix what's there, fix the Creator's creation, instead of using it as raw material to experience however we want. And that little mental shift is such a huge shift. If you can embrace what's there, then you can make whatever you want out of the Legos, assuming that you have all the Legos. I mean, obviously there's some limitations. My packs are usually missing one or two.
Yeah, I bet. And you'll step on them in the middle of the night. You'll find them.
And embrace it, right? Ooh, that's an experience.
I'm feeling that. As you're levitating down the stairs, knocking your head.
Levitating, falling, however you want to call it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, you're accepting what you've got, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. So what are you seeing? Like with you're an enlightened person, and that's why I always love being around you. What are you seeing around you that you wish people would just like get a grip on? Because there's a lot of panic, there's a lot of craziness, people are being laid off and all that stuff. What are some of the things that you just wish oh man, people just wake up and see this or realize that?
There's the biggest one. Um, there may be a couple, but the biggest one, a couple weeks ago, I was just sitting in the morning. I was doing some meditation. I'd come out of it, and I've spent a lot of time just training to try and be sensitive to life. Feeling into things and really getting a sense of what's going on. And it was a couple weeks ago, before everything like went sideways. Because we were trying to fill events and all of these other things, and obviously those are not on the docket until later, after this all blows over. The couple of things, like what I noticed was I came out of my meditation. I was just sitting there, and I felt this massive energetic shift across the whole planet. And it wasn't about the virus. The virus was the opportunity for it, but I just felt like this whole planet go, ah, like Atlas shrugged, like it had been holding up this unsustainable way of life for a long period of time. And it finally got a chance to be like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I want to do with this anymore. So I'm sitting there, and I call my business partner. I'm like, hey, did you feel that? Like, did you feel that? Something just happened. And we start talking about it. And it just felt like we've been running this unsustainable way of life for a long time. Everybody wants to grow. Everybody wants to consume. Everybody wants to produce. And we focus on productivity as if producing is the only activity that's okay in life. Consuming is the only activity that's okay. And it's unsustainable on a planet that has a limited amount of space on it. And it's unsustainable just in general. Like in theory, it's nice, but that level of growth is unsustainable all the time unless you're constantly adapting to what the world is. So it felt like for a moment that the entire world just took a sigh of relief and went, we all knew that the game was up for a long time, but we were playing the game because it seemed like that was the only option. And suddenly something happened. And now we realize, wait a second, am I really willing to tolerate this? So one of the things I want to suggest to people is, I get it. Like it can be a scary situation to recognize that everything that you grew up with doing may not be viable anymore. And I would invite you to ask yourself the question, because now is the best time when everything's up in the air, you might as well ask the question, if I were to move forward out of this, what am I going to stop tolerating in my life? Am I going to stop tolerating treating my body like it's expendable? Am I going to stop tolerating treating my bank account like it's just something that'll just magically be there and whatnot? Am I going to stop tolerating doing things? If you're an entrepreneur, am I going to stop tolerating doing things in my business that I hate, that make me miserable? As a parent, am I gonna continue to tolerate, or will I stop tolerating not being there with my kids because I haven't been for so many years? Do I want them to grow up, leave home, and then remember, oh gosh, that time was really short? You only have a limited amount of time with them. So I'd invite you to just ask yourself the question, what are you going to keep tolerating, and what are you going to stop tolerating? Because this is the perfect time with all of these emotions in the air. It's the perfect time to set some new habits. The second thing I would say is, all of the emotion you're feeling is just because of the meaning you're giving to the situation. Emotion is not a natural byproduct of life unless you're A, pregnant, B, going through puberty, C, right, you got injected with something and there is a chemical thing going on. And that could be food, it could be a substance, it could be a vaccine. And I'm not saying they're good or bad. I'm just saying, like, if there's extra chemistry in there, there's extra chemistry in there. Or you're ill, right? If you have an illness, people, emotions and irritability can show up so if you're dealing with this and you're quarantined, I get it, right? Don't blame yourself for those emotions. They're happening. But outside of those four things, the emotion that you're feeling is 100% under your control. And like, we work with this all day long, training people how to not just understand that their emotions are their choice, but how to make that choice. And it starts with, what's going on in your head. There's other ways to do it that are simpler and easier and stuff. Obviously, reach out to me if you want to learn some, but
just put it in there. Where can people reach out to you?
If you want to just reach out to me directly, Bob at thefreedomspecialist.com. But if you want to learn how to train your emotions and really be in charge of them and be able to have a choice, you can go to thefreedomspecialist.com/feel better now.
Oh, how nice. You've been trained in copywriting.
Yeah.
Love it, man. All right, cool. So where do we want to go next? So what are you doing right now? What has changed with you? Because everybody seems to be feeling like the whole world has changed. And like you said, the world has taken a breath, a sigh of relief. So what's changed in what you're doing with your day to day?
Well, obviously we have more kids at home. So that's new. Day to day right now, like I'm taking a breath. It's funny because like if you have a certain energy in the world, it's like the current of a river. Now, there's a lot of ways that you can play in the current of a river. You can swim with it. You can lazily just let it take you where it wants to go. You can swim against it. You can be like, there's a rock out there, I'm going to make it. You can strategize and all kinds of stuff. But as long as you can see the current, you can kind of play with it. Right now, for me, the world is taking a breath. And that question of toleration is one that I'm living out. And I'm just have this inner drive that showed up that says, it's time to clear out all the junk, all the stuff I've been carrying, the baggage, the physical belongings, anything that I've been carrying that doesn't bring me joy, that isn't aligned with my highest values, that is just excess weight, commitments that I've made that I hate, but I made the commitment because I was used to saying yes to things, right?
Yeah.
I've stopped like pretending that I feel good if I don't feel good, and so starting to be real. The other day, somebody's like, "How you feeling?" And I go, "Good." I say that, I guess, mostly out of habit instead of out of honesty. Here's how I'm really feeling.
People don't want to hear that. They want to hear good. You're being considerate.
Cry all the time, don't we? Right? As long as,
you know it.
Yeah. So, but like this question of cleaning things out, files on the computer that I don't need. When I leave a coach, and I'm done with their mentorship, what happens is like I literally clear out everything of theirs. Like I've embodied what I've embodied, I've absorbed what I've absorbed, and I personally don't go back to it. Like I've I've had it where I've saved it for years, and then I go back, I'm like, why am I still holding on to this thing? It was holding energetic weight. And every time I clear out the clutter, what happens is more information comes. And particularly with the kind of business that I do, where I'm helping people with depression, anxiety, getting rid of past trauma, getting rid of addiction, like there's a lot of people out there in the personal development space, and everybody is kind of throwing all of this stuff at people. Here's all this stuff, and it's really easy to feel like you're going to have a lot of competition. But when you clear space, like I just invent new things. Like it is, it happens because there's no more energy. Like you have a certain amount of energy that some people maybe have more or less. And if part of that is, oh, I have this thing on my to-do list and this other thing and this other thing, then that amount of energy is bound up trying to hold on to a to-do list. Some people write them down, but you're still energetically tied to that list. And so when you clean it out and you really assess, is this necessary? Is this something I want to go? Maybe I wanted to do it a week ago, but is that still something I want to do? No. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go talk to who I need to talk to, or I'm just going to erase it if it's one of mine. And there's such a breath of fresh air that comes, and you can live lighter and cleaner instead of having the heaviness of all this stuff going on. Just move toward the light, man.
I love it, man. And I've been feeling that quite a lot lately, clearing the clutter. I spoke about it in one of the earlier Daily Bread projects. Nature pours a vacuum, and you're talking about intentionally creating that vacuum, and it brings more creativity or more light into your life. And I'm believing it more and more. And with us being stuck here, I'm like, what else can I declutter? So it's just amazing that you said that right now. I'm living it, and I'm proof. You're proof. We're all proof that this is real. Like we create this intentional space for something good to fill it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. I love it, man. All right. We're close to wrapping up here. I want everybody to know Alive and Free is Bob's show. This guy is a genius, and I've told him that to his face. I'm telling him now, but I'm telling all of you more importantly, like every time I talk to this guy, I'm uplifted. Check out Alive and Free. Anything else you want to say as we're wrapping up, Bob?
Yeah. Last piece, if this will help. Right. We're talking about bringing more light into your life, bringing more hope into your life. Light, physical light. Look, the thing that started getting me out of depression, suicidal stuff, addiction, this is something you can do right now. I used to just sit on, well, maybe not sitting on the roof, especially snow outside. But I still sit on the roof when it's not snow on the roof, and just watch the sunset. You would be amazed what setting aside 20 minutes each day where you're required to just sit there while the sun goes below the horizon. Some days you'll just like be mad and talk to the sun and angry. And other days you might just sit there and you have nothing but that dedicated time where literally you're opening yourself up to the light that is the source of life on this planet, that without it, none of us would be here. I can't even describe all the possible ways that it'll do things for you. We don't need to talk in terms of vitamin D and all the stuff that scientists are going to say. Just go experience it. Just go spend some time bathing in the light of creation and let it fill you without requiring it to do anything else but be there and filling you up.
You're a poet, man. You are a poet. I love you. You know that. I think anybody who has listened to this will now love you as well. Alive and Free is the name of his show. Bob, you're an incredibly generous man. Thank you so much for being here. And that is a wrap for today's The Daily Bread Project.
Loved it, man.
Thank you.